really hoping to get out this week to do some shed hunting, but the weather had other plans for us. Ended up getting dumped on with a little bit of snow last week and didn't get out to try to find those sheds from that buck yet that we were hoping to. I know Zach and a few of the guys were out last week doing some goose hunting, trying to finish up the season. Looked like they were able to get a few. I guess you saw that, potentially saw that last week on the Beyond the Dirt episode. But today we're heading down to a farm we've got in Union County. We walked this farm a few weeks ago and then ended up listing it for the landowner, and we've got a deal potentially, well, it's in the works, I guess I'd say. We got a deal that we're working on. It's a little bit unique. Landowners selling off a parcel of land, and they have a house there that they're going to be obviously still living in. With that being said, we're on our way down here actually to set up this meeting, or we've got the meeting set up. We're down here to introduce the potential buyer to the landowner and try and just have a conversation with them and help the landowner understand what the buyer's intent is for the property, and hopefully, if all goes well, they'll get along well and could be potential neighbors there. So hey Todd, this is Chuck.
Hey Chuck.
Hey, just wanting to check in with you to see how far out you thought you were.
I think about 3 minutes.
Okay, sounds good. All right,
Yeah,
we just pulled in.
Right here.
Alrighty, we'll see you in a few. Bye.
You bet. Yeah, bye-bye.
That's a good sized pond. You say that was here before
you
bought the place?
Yep.
And you've owned it since, what was it, 99?
1998.
98.
Yep.
And that could be something too, you know, if we were able to work out a deal. You and I could sit down and talk about that and, you know, try to help out both ways.
Oh yeah, it'd be helping you, because that way
Sure.
your creek's not going to flood over
Yep.
there, and you'll be able to get across when you want to. But just you hunt it, or you have friends that
So
hunt it
it's
with you, or?
my wife also hunts, not a whole lot because we have a 3-year-old obviously.
Right.
So no friends. It would be my parents or my dad.
Okay.
He lives out of state, and so he can't hunt every year obviously. But
Right.
you know, mainly it would just be me.
Okay.
Or maybe if we ended up doing some coyote hunting.
Oh, that I would definitely appreciate.
Well, I can help you out with that.
Being here by myself, I don't like hearing them at night. That's spooky to me.
Sure.
Well, that turned out better than expected, I guess. We you never know on those kind of ordeals when you're introducing a potential buyer to a landowner how it's going to work out. I'd say probably flip a coin and see which way it's going to go. But they seemed to hit it off. It seemed like they got along good, and main concern from the landowner was just what's going to be going on the adjacent property after she sells it. Seemed to go pretty smooth, and everybody was agreeable. Ended up getting the contract signed, so that one's officially going to be marked pending and start the closing process. So it's kind of nice to see somebody recognize that. A lot of times we go into these properties, they're pretty rough and need a lot of work, and you know, we've seen and done a lot of that kind of stuff to make a property nicer than what it is, and do some improvements. And not everybody has that vision to be able to see what you can do with the property, and he's pretty sharp. I think he's got it figured out, so should be a good one. It's going to be exciting to see what it turns into. Well, it's been a busy week in the office, so it's good to have a little bit of a break today to get out and take care of some projects we wanted to get done out here at the farm. We're planning to do a little bit of shed hunt today, and since we're coming down, we brought a little bit of corn and some alfalfa pellets. We're going to dump these out in front of the camera, and just to get an inventory of what's going on out here and kind of see what bucks made it through the season. We know there's one buck in particular that we're hoping to find his sheds today. That's where we're going, is into the timber where he typically beds, and going to try and uncover those. But we do have a little bit of snow on the ground still. It's been melting off. As you can see around me here, we're in the food plot right now, and this rye is still pretty green. The deer are hitting it pretty hard, but there's still a lot of snow cover that's going to make it a little bit challenging to find the sheds. So this is the mix we're dumping out here. we've got a cell camera right back there. So those things, once we finally got them working this year, they turned out to be really nice. Keep track of what's going on the farm and not have to actually be here. And we've got this spread out, a little bit of mix of corn and these green pellets. I haven't tried this before. I'm kind of curious to see how the deer react to them, but it's supposed to be a mix of Timothy grass and alfalfa. I would assume that they'd love it, but one of the things you got to worry about when you're feeding any time of the year is just transmission of disease and overall herd health. It's generally not a good idea to have all your deer congregating in one spot eating out of a feeder, because if one of them gets sick, the theory is they could transmit it. But this is pretty short window. We're just going to do this couple bags here dumped out and hopefully get a quick inventory, and that's about all I generally do as far as supplemental feeding goes throughout the year. But excited to see what deer are still left. We know there's one buck that made it that we were actually hunting that dropped his sheds, and then another big 10 point that we actually had an opportunity at one of the last evenings we were hunting, and I've gotten pictures of him after season closed. So he made it through, and hopefully they're both healthy enough that they make it through the winter and see them again next year. Well, we got the blinds taken down and got the camera set up for some inventory, so we're gonna head over here into this block of timber where this particular buck likes to stay and see if we can find those sheds that he dropped before season ended. We generally don't get out this early. I mean, it's 22nd, 23rd of January today, and personally I don't like to go into the timber and blow deer out, but this is kind of an exception. We already know that the buck that we'd like to find the sheds from, he's already dropped them. So there's kind of a few tips, I guess, that maybe most people are aware of, maybe not, but things that I like to look for on when I'm going to go out shed hunting. So the first thing is the day. Like, I really don't like to go out and shed hunt on days that are super bright, especially when you got snow on the ground. The sun's just reflecting, and for some reason it seems like, it's reflecting off the snow, off the leaves, and makes it really hard to see sheds. Obviously you can wear a good set of sunglasses, but that's not always going to help you be able to pick them out. So that's kind of the first thing. And the second thing maybe is, as far as like just seeing sheds goes, is binos. The old saying is miles for piles. That's probably a good strategy in itself. Is if you want to find some sheds, the first thing you got to do is just get out and walk a lot. But binos can save you quite a few steps. You happen to see a stick or something in the distance that looks like a shed, I'm pretty quick to get my binos up and save myself the trouble of walking over there. So those are probably two kind of high level quick things about shed hunting that for me has helped find more sheds over the years. Generally speaking, if you want to find sheds, you need to be looking where the deer are. So right now we're on a deer trail that's kind of heading from bedding out to this food plot that we just came from. Look for travel corridors, bedding areas, and feeding areas. Really, that's where you want to focus your time. If you've got a limited amount of time and you're looking for sheds, I mean, you can aimlessly just kind of wander around, but if you think about the time frame of when deer are historically or generally dropping their antlers, their movements are bed to food and back. But anyway, that's what we're going to focus on today, and fingers crossed we'll find this deer's sheds. I've never found him in the past. He's always been on the neighbors. This year it seems like he's more on us, and we've got food over here. We've seen him, I don't know, a dozen times this year or more, and he was here a lot in the late season. So I'm hoping he dropped him over here. If not, maybe the neighbors will be kind enough to let us look around over there. But I'm kind of concerned with the condition he's in, with the limp that he's got going, that he might not make it through the winter. So this would be kind of a nice keepsake if in fact he doesn't make it, to have those sheds. So we're gonna look around, see what we can find in this little ridge over on the other side of it. Pretty decent little cedar rub right here. We're kind of in the thick of it right now. This is the core bedding area on this property, and this is just one of the things that I look for when I'm trying to find sheds. A lot of people think that bucks just rub during October and November time frame, but in reality they rub year round. It's just kind of a character habit of deer. And so I've seen it a lot of times. They'll come up to a shed like, or a rub like that rather, and end up bumping their antlers loose and knocking them off right next to a good rub. So a lot of times when I see a rub, I'll at least from a distance glance around it. Another thing that kind of caught my eye as we're walking this is there's several fence crossings. As you think about, you know, why would a deer's sheds fall off? Obviously it's like an impact of some kind, so jumping a fence or hitting a rub or something like that, or even sparring with another deer can cause our antlers to jar loose and fall off. So we're in the core of this bedding area. Now we're just going to grid search and pay extra attention to little spots like that, even little browse, like you see a little shrub that they might be browsing on. Sometimes they just kind of work their antlers in there and get tangled up and knock them off. So God. What? Tell me you found them, man.
Come stand right here.
What?
Come stand right here. And just look over here.
Hey, man. Yeah. Holy cow. Not a chew mark on it. His twos are way better than I thought. I probably wasn't giving this deer enough credit. All the pictures I have of him. That's the telltale sign. Every year that deer's got that really tight rack. It's tall, really tall, and then his fore is always lean. There's been years where they almost come straight in. Dang, man.
I know, I saw
So
that.
this is what's crazy. That night that I saw him shed, saw after he had shed, he come walking across and he followed all the does down, and they all came down and crossed that river, and they came in right through here. And I had never seen him do that before. But he literally that night probably walked within 20-30 yards of where this shed is right here. How deep that thing is, like in anywhere else where there's a little bit more snow, the only thing sticking out would be a couple inches at a time. This is the other crazy thing is, so we're like 18 yards, 20 yards from where I shot one of the bucks this year. I had came in with my lone wolf trying to find a spot along this river, and every single tree is just so gnarly and cut up that I could not get in it. Walked around for an hour in the dark, ended up throwing the stand in the weeds, sitting on the ground, ended up shooting a pretty nice buck from right there, 20 yards from when we found the shed. Hunting this deer the whole time. And the other crazy thing is, that same spot right there where I shot the buck this year, the first time I ever got close to this deer, he was crossing the river right there, and that's where I shot him. I hit him in the leg, just in behind his leg, and the story's almost coming full circle. Now we just got to get the actual deer next year. So unfortunately, we just come across a pretty decent looking dead buck. We're gonna walk up here and see which deer it is. I'm guessing I probably know the deer, but just got off the phone with the DNR officer. He's gonna get us a salvage tag. He said just take pictures of the deer and shoot him my name and phone number, and he'll get that printed off. So hate to see that, but it's part of it. Sometimes they don't make it through the winter, so kind of curious what killed the deer, whether it was the winter conditions and not enough food, or stress, or you never know sometimes. But well, we're losing light for the day, so we're gonna have to give up the shed hunt. But pretty pumped to find this buck's antler. It was right dead in the middle of the farm, kind of close to the middle as you could basically want it. So high hopes that we'll come back when the snow melts a little bit and find the other one. It's starting to melt off the plots and a couple of the bean fields around here, so we're gonna get out here in the next couple weeks and try and look a little harder. But man, I am pumped to find that deer's antler. It's been a long time coming to try and connect with that deer, and this is the closest we've got, but we'll certainly take it. Kind of bummed to find the other buck. He's got some cool character. I'm gonna have to go back and see if I can figure out which buck that was. I'm sure I've probably got pictures of him, but it's just not ringing a bell right now. But it's a bummer to lose a deer anytime, no matter how old they are, especially one like that looks like he's got a lot of potential. It's a bummer to have to lose them. So, but anyway, all in all, a good day. Pretty exciting day to get out of the office, do a little bit of shed hunting, see kind of what's going on out here, and get a little bit of work done on the farm. And hopefully here in the next couple days we'll be back at the real estate stuff and kind kind of bring you guys some updates with what we have going on there.